These are real buyers that will show up. We write letters for those. We're very specific in the letters that we write. So let's say it's Nick Baldwin. I'm going to write up the letter and it's going to say, hey, Mr. Seller, I've got a husband and a wife, Nick and Ann, and they're looking for the single family residence. It's in your neighborhood.
Agents Podcast.
So this has become a common topic in the real estate world, and that is thriving in a shifting market. How in the hell are you going to not only thrive, but how are you going to be able to keep your head above water? How are you going to be able to survive as we continue to head into recessionary times, as we head into really the unknown? And I know our guest today is going to be able to speak to that. I've been in the business 22 years. And honestly, people ask me all the time, what do you think about this shift? Is it with this cycle? Is it the same as other ones? I'm like, no, it's completely different. And I have no idea how we're going to come out of it. But here's what I know you should do. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some growth and retention because our guest today has had some amazing success. And we're also going to talk a little bit about indie brokers, independent brokers, maybe why you should consider it, why it might be a more promising future than maybe one of the big boxes. And I have no skin in this game, so believe me, I am going to grill him with some questions. Welcome to the show, Ryan Rodenbeck.
Hey, Jeff, very pleased to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. Well, it's good to finally connect. I think we connected a couple of months ago. I think summer just got the best of us, but so let's start here. You tell, let's just assume my audience has no idea who you are. So tell us about who you are, how you came into the business, and what led you to where you are today.
Sure. So I came into the business because I was an investor when I was like, 26, 27 years old, and tried to sell a property, investment property. And this is probably a common theme. And the agent that I hired actually, I was like 5 days in, there was no pictures, no communication. And I said, you know what, I can do this, right? I just finished wrapping up another business and started as an investment agent and started a property management company. And eventually 2008, I started Spyglass Realty. I started it as a broker that had no intentions of growing a team. I had a couple of agents that were with me for reasons I still don't know why. And in 2015, after becoming top producing real estate agent, I decided to make it a real team, and then it became a real brokerage. So we went from 16 agents in 2015 to right under 100 right now. We close about 900 homes a year, and I think we'll probably hit 500 million this year, close to it.
That's amazing. And you are in the Austin, Texas market.
Yep.
So talk about the shift a little bit. So you got into the business. Did you have any intent when you got into the business of growing this massive team, or was there some like point in your career where that just shifted?
Yeah, no, I didn't have any intention of growing a massive business. I really did not want to be beholden to any other broker. And so I got my broker's license, and, I considered having a team. And then, from like 2010 to 2015, I started realizing I was really good at bringing in internet leads. I started with, Tiger Leads was my first foray into internet leads. That's how I've known Howard Tager forever.
I'm sorry.
And so I paid just about everyone. And then what I realized is that I can bring in leads. So started bringing in other agents and developing the things that you need to know to monitor leads, make sure train agents to take leads. I was really good as a salesperson, so I tried to take my techniques that I use to become a top producing agent and train other agents to do that with our leads.
I think that just led us down our first path. So, I mentioned a few potential topics in my intro, but let's go right to that, because I think there's a lot of people that are listening that are probably in a similar boat. One of two: either A, they're in the business as an independent agent with no necessary intent to grow a team. And there's other ones that have big aspirations to grow teams. And there's probably some that are trying to grow teams. So what would be the advice that you would give to somebody Is there some broad advice, or would you give different advice for each of those three the different levels of where someone might be at in their career?
Well, so if whether you're an independent or you're a small team, I think what most people don't realize about growing your team or brokerage is that you have to get back to the things that you did as a salesperson, which is pick up the phone. I I coached with John Sheplack for years, and then when I first coached with him, I coached with him for like a 12-week period, and then grew my brokerage from I think 16 to like 35, right? And then went back with him the next years, ended up staying for a couple of years at that point. But I was like, hey, I'm not growing, what's going on? And he said that, you're doing things completely the opposite to other people, right? I am doing kind of your influencer type thing. I've got a podcast, I do YouTube, I do trainings, but how many calls do you make in a day? And it's kind of the same thing we tell our agents all the time. Like, now that we've got 95 agents or close to 100, what's interesting is they're starting to come to me, okay, but not at the level as it would be when I'm calling every single day, right? And we've gotten to the point where we're picky now, where we don't take brand new agents. We don't take agents that have been in the business for 7 years and do 2 or 3 million a year. But the point of the matter is, you always have to be focused on getting new people. So as an example, like this year, we've probably lost 10 people, okay? And the 10 people that we have lost have been really like life, all except for maybe 1 or 2 have been life circumstances, meaning they're moving out of town, or they got a full-time job that they couldn't pass up, right? Or a couple of them have got their broker's license and wanted to try that. Like, our attrition rate is really good, but the fact of the matter is, life happens and you're going to lose people. So you always have to have a recruitment method, and you got to stay focused on that, or you will not grow.
So let me digress it for a second, because I think it's interesting how you mentioned you have a certain type of agent you're looking for. And I think that a lot of anybody in growth mode, admittedly, and I'm in the same boat as you in a different space, you find yourself saying, "Ooh, they got a pulse, they have interest.
Yeah.
Let's talk." Or, "Okay, I get it. You've been in the business for 10 years and you're not doing anything. Maybe I can change them." It's almost like the girlfriend or boyfriend, right? We can change them. What would you speak to that? Because I think, and I know I'm guilty of it. And I think everybody who goes through a recruiting point in their life goes through the same thing. How would you speak to that?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, a lot of teams and brokers would not agree with my method. They say, take anybody and train them up. Take anybody and train them up. We don't want to do that for a couple of reasons. One, we want to maintain a standard of quality to our agents, and 2, we don't like when people leave. Okay, especially when they can't make it. So what we have identified is a couple of things. One, we're not good at taking agents that just got their license, that have not done a deal. Okay. So there are 2 types of agents that we look for. One are agents that do between 1 million and 3 million, that have been in a business for 1 to 3 years, loosely around that criteria. And they probably picked the wrong brokerage to start with in order to launch their career. However, they made it despite that. Okay. So we can get them in, get them on our leads product, and then we really flourish with those agents. The other type of agents that we recruit are agents that are doing really 6 million or more, right? And this is dependent on your market, of course, but in Austin, it's 6 million or more for us. And those are our independent agents. Our brokerage has a leads product where we have about 40 agents that are on it. And then we have 60 agents that aren't on leads. And our philosophy, which is again different than a lot of other brokerages, is our leads are a stepping stone to become an independent brokerage. We charge more for our leads. So you take my leads because you have a hole in your pipeline. And when you don't have a hole in your pipeline, you don't take my leads, and you don't have to graduate to another brokerage. Because this is one thing that we get from we take a lot of agents that come from teams that want to do their own thing. And then a lot of the teams, this isn't universal, but a lot of the teams don't really have a pay system or a guidance system for agents to do their own thing, and we do.
I never really understood that. And as you know, based on my role in the industry, I talk to brokers and team leads and real estate agents all over the country.
Yeah.
And I do know some like that. And they're successful. I just don't understand. And maybe somebody's listening to this, and I'm just going to question it for you to answer. Why would you limit yourself? I mean, I get it. Maybe you've figured out a system that just works really, really, really well. But it's almost like you have to control. They feel, it seems like they're controlled, and not every human wants to be controlled. So why not create a vehicle so that that person who was loyal to it and you built them up and now wants to go out on their own has the vehicle? Why do you think brokerages or teams? And if you're listening to this and you do this, listen to this answer, because I'm curious to know what it is.
Yeah, I think I know why. And after exploring this for several years, because if you have a team with 20 to 40 agents that is almost exclusively working on your leads, that's very profitable. Okay. So the problem is that they will leave. So you got to kind of, not universally, some of them stay forever, but in order to do that and have an independent agent on a brokerage, you got to scale that brokerage, right? So like, if you're looking at 20, if I've got 20 people on a team and 40 agents that are completely independent, you look at a team that has 40 people on a team, they're more profitable than me, right? But if I have 30 people on a team and 75 that are independent, those 75 are very low maintenance. So I understand why they do that. But for me, I don't want to go through training people over and over and over again. I mean, we do it, but we have so many people that are on the leads that we only have a few leave each year, 5 to 7 each year. So if I can replace those 5 to 7, and the 5 to 7 that leave the leads come on our independent brokerage, they're trained up. They might come back to the leads. We call it a product, not a team.
Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And admittedly, like, I hate leads. It's never been my jam. And as a leader, we have just stayed away from them. We're looking for independent, people that want to grow their own business. And we built systems to help those people thrive.
Yeah.
And admittedly, like, we could maybe have a bigger group if we offered leads. It's just, we've just never put the infrastructure in to do that because it's a completely different beast.
Yeah.
And on the reverse side of things, I guess, if you're like me, putting in a system, because I guess the thing is this is, as a former producer, I didn't play the lead game. You played the lead game. So now you built that. So you had that expertise, and then you build that infrastructure. Do you guys use ISAs? Do you, what is your system? I know you're probably a Ylopo guy. You mentioned Howard. I know you've spoken to Ylopo. So what does your system look like there for anybody who's looking to kind of replicate what you're doing?
Yeah, so we have one ISA. We're not ISA heavy. We use Zillow Flex. We're the #1 Zillow Flex team in terms of conversion to market in Austin.
That helps.
And we use Ylopo. Ylopo is a big part of our tech stack. Follow Up Boss is amazing. And so the biggest thing with us is our leadership infrastructure. Okay, Zillow taught us a lot, and I was not a Zillow fan before we became a Flex member. Okay, but they taught us a lot about how to measure the different parts of a lead. Okay, and then they have, they're Zillow. They're a data company above anything else. They know so much about, like, where is the breakdown in the agent, and they know it's either from coming in as answering, to met with, to showing properties, to writing contracts, to close. And because they track all of that, we can look at an agent that may not be performing as well as they should. Instead of saying, how do we coach them? Well, we know it's maybe they're meeting people, but they're not showing properties. Or they're showing properties and not writing contracts. Or they're writing contracts, but they're not getting those accepted. Right. And then the other thing with us is, the huge part of it is our leadership. We run on EOS. I've got a sales manager, I got an operations manager, I got a marketing director, I got a full-time trainer. This is not the Ryan Rodenbeck show. And so that's really helped us, departmentalize the different functions of our company and really help with our company culture.
I love that. And that's a good segue to ask, why Indy. So you're Spyglass Realty. I
Yep.
assume that's your brand. You built
Yep.
that.
Mhm.
So why? I mean, obviously in a day and age, especially back when you did it, and I would say 5 to 10 years ago, the big box really dominated real estate, and that's
Mhm.
starting to shift.
Yeah.
But tell us why you choose Indy and why you think it's maybe the best fit for
Well,
most.
I'm not going to say it's the best fit for everyone. I know it's the best fit for me. I mean, the reason I started Indy is because I fell into Indy when I first got into a brokerage. I've never been part of a big box brokerage, right? And what I realized over the years is, you have all these companies that, I mean, we get courted all the time that say, oh, we're going to offer you this, we're going to offer you that, all the technology, all that. You can get all of that stuff whether you're a big box or not. I mean, if you look at some of the failures of the big box, right? I mean, KW Command is not, for all accounts and purposes, was not that great. I don't know what Compass is doing, but they bought contractually, and that apparently wasn't that good. They might have something new now. I don't know. But my point is you don't have to invent your own technology when you can get the best in class from everyone else. The key is how do you marry these technologies together, right? Now there are companies that can go in and have a single sign-on, and they can do their CRM, they can do property alerts, they can do all that from there, okay? And that's great. As a tech nerd, as a tech enthusiast, I am envious of that. However, I have taken agents from a company that had that, and they came over and they're like, oh my God, Follow Up Boss is so much easier to use than the souped up Salesforce that I don't know what it means, right? So I just don't see, for me personally, the juice is not worth the squeeze in joining a company that is going to take some part of your stuff, take part of your splits, part of your commissions or something. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I've proven that by how we've been able to scale. And another thing with independence, right, is about 3 or 4 years ago, we had Better Homes and Gardens, EXP, Compass came to town. All three of these companies came to town. They came in, started buying, absorbing, merging, all that, right? This was the big disruptor, was a big word at the time. And I was like, oh my God, I'm nervous. I'm like, what am I going to do, right? Well, they were the best thing that ever happened to me because they eliminated most of my competition. I made the serious judgment call. You know what? I'm staying independent, right? For better or for worse. 2 years later, there's no more competition. Now, in the meantime, there have been independents that have come up that are doing well, but we have a head start on them because we stay the course.
I love that answer, and I will speak to that too. And I've learned this. Obviously, most of you know this. I'm in the mortgage space, and what I've learned, because I would consider us kind of, if there was an equivalent, we're like an Indian. You're familiar with our company because
Yes.
you work with us, which is awesome. What I learned when you go to those big boxes and they have their own proprietary tech is there's a reason why they have it. Part of it's control. The other part's data. They tell you it's because it's better, but the reality is, and I've tasted this, is that when you're working with these independent tech companies who service real estate, that's all that they do.
Yeah.
And they're really freaking good at it. And so anybody who tells you at a big box, this is mortgage or real estate, that you have better tech than the smaller guy, it's not necessarily true. And
It's not. I'm not seeing one case where it is.
I agree. And you can attest to it from our perspective as well, because you've probably tasted what USA has. And I love that, man. I love that you said that, because I do believe that there is not a one size fits all for anybody.
Yeah.
And, but I do have a question for you. And this is, I'm sure, I don't know if anybody else is thinking it, but I'm agnostic, so I could care less where you are. But the downline model has really taken hold of our industry, and EXP's made a splash. Now there's real. Why haven't you bit on that bait?
Yeah, okay. I want to be careful how I answer this question. Mainly because it's unappealing to me. Okay. I'm not going to say which company, but one of the companies. I've been catfished into meetings that I thought was an interview with an agent, and it was like a recruitment tool, right?
That's a turn off right there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that going on, and then the other part of it is that I have not seen a standard of quality with some of these companies. Now, let me just say this. I am friends with some of the top team leaders across the country that are with a couple of these companies, and they are ballers, okay? And they do really, really well. But people say, well, if you join EXP, if you join Real, you don't give up your brand. I don't believe that. Okay. I see some of these checks that some of these guys may be getting, and that's all well and good. And like, maybe there's a part of me like, man, I should have done that, but that's not who I am. Okay. I'm an independent broker, and I'm ride or die independent. I mean, if there were a brand that could lure me, it would have to be uber luxury. And I just, it'd have to be something that my entire, and here's the other part of it, right? Is because of the 95 agents that I have, probably 50 of them are from companies that no longer exist, that were with they got bought out by Better Homes and Gardens. They merged with EXP, a lot of Compass, and they came over here because they did not want to be part of that. So a lot of different reasons for that, but the main thing is an identity. I've built this. This is who I am. This is who our company is, and I don't see a reason to. I don't know, the downline thing. I'm not selling Amway here, and no offense to any of that. And I know very successful people that are making a lot of money on it. It's just not me.
Yeah, same. You mentioned. Well, actually, you know what? I want to segue. I guess I want to segue out of that, because we'll probably. I don't want to get you in trouble. I don't want to get myself in trouble. I love everyone, and
Me too.
And it's true. But I love what you said there, and I thought it was funny, actually. So anybody listening to this, if you want to recruit Ryan, he kind of just said it on a silver platter for you. So now you know what you got to do.
Yeah.
But don't catfish. And you know what? And actually, I'm gonna give a public service announcement, because I'm glad you said that, and I can say it because I'm not in the industry. Is that that's the problem with those models, is those agents that do that. If you're listening and you're one of them, or people that do that, that's what you got to clean up, because otherwise it just creates a bad name. And
I think my friends that are that are top team leaders across the country, like, they feel the same way. They don't have to. They don't go and recruit people. Like they have so much stature and so much, they add so much value that people come to them.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, and that brings us back to you kind of touched on it without saying it, which is culture. Mm-hmm. And I think that is something that, you can have it, whether you're in a big box, you're in India, or you're a small shop, it doesn't matter, right? It's all kind of dependent upon the leadership. But it's somewhat cliche. Yeah, I personally believe in it. Like, we call our region, it's our work family, right? And we mean it. Like, that's just, we're not just blowing smoke. What is your take on culture and the importance of it as either a leader or an agent?
Oh my God, it's the most important thing you can do for your company. And we put so much focus on that. A lot of things happened in the last few years that have elevated our culture. We started working, running through EOS. We focused on the book, Good to Great, where they talk about, a lot about culture. There's a book called The Culture Code, which is amazing, right? So the way that we have focused on our culture is our leadership really pays attention to it. We have a culture committee that meets once every 2 months that decides what kind of parties we're going to throw, what kind of charities we're going to represent that month, food drives, clothing drives, things like that. And we even have a follow-up boss list, CRM follow-up boss, where it has all of our agents in it. And if someone has not been talked to, one of our agents has not been talked to in 3 weeks, our leadership will go in and knock that off and then try to contact them. Because what we realize is that just because you haven't heard from someone doesn't mean they're okay, right? Mm-hmm. We do a once a month happy hour. We do an online training every 2 weeks. We do a training once a month. We have lots of events for people to be able to give to the community. And as a result, we've won Best Places to Work in ABJ for the past 3 years. I think we're in the top 5 coming up on the Austin American Statesman's top workplaces. And then, all that feeds into making sure people are happy and attracting other people. We do a lot for our agents. We do social media drives. We have today at my office, in about 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever, they're going to come in and do a video and photo shoot that we do once a month, social media training, right? And what the results of that are that our agents are really pushing stuff on stories and reels, and people, other agents are like, wow, things are going down at Spyglass Realty. So yeah, it's so important in the terms of making sure your company is happy, but also attracting other good people to your company.
Yeah. I mean, what I heard there is you invest not just money, but a lot of time into making this a priority. And I think that's critical. Now, I think one of the bigger questions or objections to that, though, would be, all right, Ryan, that's good and well, but you've scaled to where you are. You're 100+ agents. It's easy for you to do that. How do you get to that level when you're only at 10 or 15 agents and you are grinding every day? It's hard to put a priority on the fluffy things.
Yeah. Well, so here's what I'd say about being 10 or 15 agents. And this is what I realized when I had literally 16 agents. I lost one of my biggest producer at the time. And she said to me, Ryan, you say that you're not available, or you say that you're always available. But if I walk in the office, I could see in your face, you're not. Okay. And what I realized is she was absolutely true. I was so consumed with doing my own production that the mind can't serve two masters. So if you're a top producing agent and you're trying to lead and grow a company, it really doesn't work. You have to put a priority over one. So I literally sold a duplex. We had several duplexes that we owned, sold a duplex and said, you know what, I'm not going to sell anymore, right? For the next year, I'm going to focus on recruitment because as a top producing agent that has 15 agents is not enough to supplement that income. And, I thought at 30, it's enough for me to okay, I can quit selling real estate, not making as much money as I was, or selling someone $26 million in real estate. So, it's kind of like that agent that starts on your firm. Like if someone's brand new, right? That says, okay, do you have enough money to make it the next 4 to 6 months? Well, if you're an agent, a team leader that's got 10 or 15 people, you got to say the same thing. Do you have enough money to stop selling real estate and grow your team to 30? Because that's where it comes in. And then that's where you can put the focus on the culture, right? When I sold that duplex, I'm like, culture, retainment, recruitment, that's it.
So what would you say is, because there's a transition in there and you were touching on it, at what point can I supplement my income? And you and I probably have kind of come along in the same vein, because I went through the same thing. Like at what point I can't give up. I was doing 100+ deals a year. Like that's a lot of income. I can't just walk away from that. And I know my industry is different than yours, but so from
not that different.
No, you're right. But at the same token, that shift is delicate. And it's either, okay, I save up a lot of money and just, eat ramen noodles for a couple of years, or I transition on this delicate shift. If somebody's sitting there, because I think there's probably a lot of people sitting there saying, yeah, that's the reason why I can't scale, because I can't walk away from my business, or they're just control freaks, right?
Yeah. What's
the advice that you give to either one of those two scenarios?
Make a decision, right? Make a decision and sacrifice. Like you said, ramen noodles. So obviously this company has put the air out of being very successful, and we have been very successful. Okay. But if I were to show you my 2019 tax return, you would be very surprised. Now, I won't even talk about it because my wife would kill me, but it's not kill me because it's very high, but we just put so much money into the business to grow. And along those ways, where we were at 15 to 30 to 45 agents, my wife says, are you ready to quit this? We did a strategic planning, Jeff, and about 4 or 5 years ago. And I remember the goal was in 3 years to grow to 100 agents. At the time I was selling a lot of real estate, right? And working my ass off. And my wife started crying in the meeting. And I was like, what is going on? She goes, I just can't imagine with how hard you work right now with 100 agents. We're never going to have time with you. And I said, Angel, the point is to scale to freedom. Okay. And that's what I want to do. And so we're going to work, we're going to sacrifice, and we're going to put money in the company. We're going to make less money over the next couple of years. And at the other side of that, you're going to see more of me. So here we are, fast forward to today, and I don't work nights. I don't work weekends. I make more money now than I ever have, right? But I mean, not that that's, big money or anything, but my point is, we sacrificed for those couple of years. And scaling the freedom was the exact term I used, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Well, and big money's relative. It's relative to the market you're in. It's relative to what you want. There is no barometer. You have to create your own barometer of success. I love that you said that. And I think the important thing that I want to hit on is that, because everybody thinks, and I know it, I've been in a leadership role a long time, and you always can just feel those eyeballs on you. Like, oh, they just sit there and make all this money.
Yeah.
And when times are good, yes, we do. And when times are bad, oftentimes we're working for free.
Yeah.
And I tell people that all the time. I'm like, would you be willing to do that? And the answer is always no. And I'm like, because you come from a mindset, if you go to work, you get paid. Well, that's not the way it works in an entrepreneurial way. And everybody just always thinks we're just rolling in cash all the time. And I think, for anybody listening to this, like, that's the thing. Beyond anything, you've got to come to a mental acceptance that you are going to eat a shit sandwich.
Yeah.
And it cycles. Like, you just don't always go from, okay, 2 years, and then you get past. You might get 2 years, 3 years of success, and then hit 2-3 years because something happens. And
absolutely. That's what I'm looking at right now. I feel pretty good about the economy overall. And especially with the growth as a hedge against, a downer, slower market. But being an entrepreneur like you and I have for the past 25 years, that something can. I've had this in 2014 where I thought everything was going to happen. It was going to be great. And I pulled my foot off the gas, and next thing you know, I didn't have any money. Right. And I had to go into the office and work harder than anyone else all day, every day, and to get out of that.
Yeah. That's something we could probably talk about for days, I think.
Yeah.
But the reality is nobody wants to hear that, right? They just, they want pie in the sky. They're not going to believe what anybody has to say until they actually go through it. And I will say this, and I think you probably attest to this, is if you're going down that path, make sure you have good mentors in your corner.
Absolutely.
Because not only are they going to lift you up in the bad times, they're going to be that inspiration. They're going to guide you. They're going to use their experience to help you not make the same mistakes that they did. That's the key.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get down to brass tacks. I mean, I let in with this. We really haven't talked too much about it, although I think this has been really awesome, which is thriving right now. And it might be a little loose because it might just be, survival, because that's going to be key. There's going to be a lot of agents getting out of the industry. I mean, if an agent, as you mentioned, left your organization for a full-time gig, clearly they weren't crushing it in real estate, because if they were doing well, there's not very many gigs that are going to pay as much as real estate does. And so, where do you want to go with this? The whole thriving in a shifting market concept. Where do you think, what's the best advice or conversation we can have on this that will bring the most value to our audience?
Yeah. And so it's probably redundant. Okay. But it's back to the basics, right? If you have a listing, you have to work for it. Okay. So some of the things that we're teaching in our class tomorrow to our agents and a few outside agents are, okay, set your expectations to your sellers. Okay. Don't go in and say, let's have a listing and okay, it's listed, and then you don't set the expectation to call them, email them, or whatever. But back when I was selling 70 homes a year listings, we would have, okay, we'd let them know we're going to list on a Thursday. You're going to get a report every Tuesday. I'm happy to jump on a phone call with you. The report's going to show you how many showings, what the feedback was, any recommendations from agents or clients that saw the property. And also any active properties in that neighborhood. Okay. So we set that up for every Tuesday, and every third week, we're going to have a conversation about tactics and price adjustments. What reason we don't talk about that every 2 weeks is you don't want to pressure someone to dropping the price when days on market's 30 days and after 2 weeks. But what'll happen is you'll see the sellers see that report, and they'll see 2 other listings that are active on the market that are lower than yours. they will initiate that call, right? And if they don't, on the third week, you say, look, we're in trouble here because of this, okay? Now you marry those type of techniques with different types of technology, right? So for instance, we have, I don't have one right here, these video books that we send out to sellers to say, hi, my name is Ryan. I'm looking forward to meeting you on Friday at 2 p.m. The next video is going to show you how we market and sell homes, right? And that sets the client up to be wowed, impressed even before. Now, did you know that Zillow has a program for, I don't know if it's for their flex agents. I know we have this, but it may be for paid agents too, maybe for everybody. I don't know, it just released that if you put a 3D tour on Zillow, that it will put it as a boosted listing for 7 days. Yeah, I don't know if you remember, people are watching this, listening to it years ago, you used to be able to pay for that premier placement. So that's another thing, like how are you marketing your home? How are you talking to buyers? How are you setting the expectations? So part of what we're doing with our agents in our class tomorrow is giving them information on here's the historical, especially rates right now, 5.5, whatever the hell it is, right? It's like, this is nothing, okay? And what we're telling people, like, I literally listened to a phone call this morning, my sales manager took and recorded, and it's the guy's like, and this is something we've been in talking points about timing the market. You want to time the market? Guess what? You've timed the market. It's time, okay? If you want to look at rates over between 2013 to 2018, they were a little bit less than 5%. But other than that, you can go back 30 years before that, and 5.5 is a smoking deal, right? And, any number of things can happen at any point in Austin that's going to drive demand. Like just 2 days ago, Apple announced they're going to build 600,000 square feet of office, right? If you want to time the market, you've timed it. So we have to have these talking points, this information, this data to be able to teach our agents how to handle what I believe are unreasonable objections. I don't know anyone that has won by timing the Austin real estate market.
Yeah. So I would summarize and what you were just describing as in you really need to be working on dialing in your sales skills, your skills in overcoming objections, because you haven't had to. Like, business just happened. It was easy over the last couple of years. So is there any advice, because let's just assume, I don't think many people listening, if any, are with Spyglass. They probably don't need to listen. They hear you all the time. So let's just say they're at their own brokerage and they're not getting that type of training right now, but they're independent as a realtor and they're okay with that. Where would you advise them to go to dial in and hone in those skills?
Well, I mean, podcasts, YouTube, if I can, I've got a YouTube channel, youtube.com/realtyhack. But listening to podcasts like this, I mean, and I got to tell you, if you're not getting that kind of mentorship at your brokerage, then you should be. I mean, I tell my agents here, don't just listen to me and my sales manager. Make sure that you're watching and listening to other podcasts. I mean, this was a very valuable podcast you put on every week. You've got great experts. There are Facebook groups, and I'll tell you this. Here's the other thing. One secret to my success over the past dozen years has been, I've been a conference junkie. Okay, and it's not just the things you hear at the conference. That's part of it. Okay. The main thing are the connections that I make. Okay. I've been on a mastermind with guys for like 7 years. Okay. That we meet once a month, and like developing these relationships. You said it before, having a good mentor, but not just a good mentor, but a good group of peers. It's kind of hard to get that in your own city or market. Whereas you find, you're what Tim Ferriss or whoever says, you are the average of the 5 people you know the most. Yeah. Find good people and listen to them, talk to them, right? And if you're not getting that at your own brokerage, there's plenty of leaders out there that are doing what I'm doing. And I think you should seek that help.
I love it. Yeah. Be a better consumer.
Yeah.
One more question as it relates to this topic of thriving in a shifting market is, okay, so that's kind of tactical and you need to dial in those skills. But what if it's just like listen, Ryan, I don't have business. So, and I don't, and again, I'm not buying leads. I'm not a lead guy or gal. I really want to attract business, or I want to, work with SOI. What would be the best advice you would give that agent who says, I just need more business? How do I penetrate and attract more?
Well, there's two things. One, I always teach my agents, add to your CRM, add to your CRM. Okay. Make sure you have the proverbial sticky note on your computer says add to CRM. Maybe it's an actual sticky note. Look at Gmail, look at Facebook, look at LinkedIn, add people in there, make contacts with them. Okay. And if you're, just plopped into a new city and that's not an option, you got two choices. One, you can go do open houses every single day and go to networking opportunities. And when I say every day, you can do an open house every day. You can do it Monday through Sunday. Okay. Or you can join a brokerage or a team that has leads. And you have to be very careful about that, right? Because a lot of people will say they have leads. They go, oh, I've got phone duty. You need to know what kind of leads. Do you have PPC leads, which are forced registration leads? Do you have inbound Zillow leads? Do you have inbound Google local services leads? You need to define what type of leads you're going to get, because leads are the most important thing. So if you're incapable of generating your own leads through your sphere of influence or through raw force of nature open house, then you need to join a brokerage or team that will provide it to you until those skills of providing your own leads are earned or adapted.
I love that. I think that if you didn't gain something from this podcast today, you weren't paying attention, and I advise you go back and listen again. Ryan, do you have any parting thoughts as we're coming up on time? Like any just final pieces of advice that you would like to give to our audience? Yeah,
I think it's, no matter what you do, no matter what type of personality you have, work ethic is the thing that will make you succeed. I mean, there's agents I've had to come in that I'm like, they don't have any personality at all, but they're either organized or they're very diligent and hardworking, or both. And like they just kill it, right? It's not about personality. It's not about charisma, although those are our advantages. Okay. It's about how hard you work.
I like that. In other words, it's not a one size fits all equation to success. Nope. You can do it any which way. That's awesome. So you mentioned earlier, you have your own podcast. It's called Realty Hack. So check that out, the Realty Hack podcast. If somebody wants to connect with you, what is the best way to do that?
Yeah, so my website, spyglassrealty.com, and I also have realtyhack.com, and that has all my platforms on it.
I love it. You mentioned you're on YouTube. Is it Realty Hack? Is that what the channel is called?
YouTube.com/Realty Hack. I really appreciate the plug there, Jeff.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you coming on and sharing some of your expertise and quote unquote secrets, although we know there are no secrets in this industry. Yeah. But this is, you're the kind of guest that I'm really trying to lean towards, which is actual people in the industry. And as you know, with your own podcast, there's a lot of people reaching out to you wanting to, they own companies that sell to the real estate industry, and there's a fine line of some of those people are worth it, but I want people in the trenches, because I think that's where we're at now. And in the next 12 months could be an interesting time, and there's going to be a lot of attrition, and you listening right now need to learn as much from these people as humanly possible. So continue to consume and go consume more. So go check out Realty Hack, go check out their YouTube channel and emulate what Ryan is doing, because clearly he's got this figured out. I love your testimony on this and why you haven't sold out, which is awesome, man. It's been great to connect with you, and hope that we stay in touch.
Yeah, Jeff, pleasure's mine. Thank you.
Lab Coat Agents Podcast.